is the theta axis. That was why this is the theta axis, the horizontal axis. That was why you saw from here 0, 2 cm representing 60, another 2 cm representing 120, another 2 cm representing 180 until 360. From the same scale that says along y-axis 10 cm represents 1 unit. That was why you saw here on the y-axis, which is the cosine theta axis, 10 cm. From here to here is 2 cm, 4 cm, 6 cm, 8 cm, 10 cm. So that was why the calibration started from here until the 10th cm. That is where you have 1 unit, 1.0. So in between this 1 unit, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. So each of the squares now will now be 1.0 divided by 5. That was what gave us 0.2 that you saw in between 2 cms. So this is 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, 1.0. So that's the calibration. So the next thing we do now is to begin to plot the values we have from our table of values. The first one is at 0 and cosine 0 is 1. 0. This is where the theta is 0 at this point of intersection of the horizontal and vertical axis. And they say that tan 0 cosine 0 is 1. So look at where you have 1. This is our 1.0. So we're going to plot at this point. Plot our first point here. Okay. The next is 12. And cosine 12 is 0.98. If this is 0.8 and distance from here to here is 0.2, or rather this is 0.8, that means this is 0.82, 84, 86, 88, 0.9, 92, 94, 96, 98 before 1.0. And what we are looking for against 12 is 0.98. Remember, just like when we were plotting x-axis, if from here to here is 60 and from here to here we have 10 small squares, that means each of the small squares is equal to 60 divided by 10, which will give you 6. That means this is 6, this is 12, this is 18 until you get to 60. That means the second value of theta, which is 12, where we have the 12 is here. After the second small square, after the first small square, the second small square. So we bring it up. So just have it in mind, it is the second small square. And its cosine is 0.98. So this is 0, this is 6 degrees, this is 12 degrees. And we're looking for 0.98. So this is 0.8. So this will be 0.82, 84, 86, 88, sorry, 82, 84, 86, 88, 9.0, 9.2, 9.4, 9.6, 9.8. And remember, our 12th degree is after the second small square. So this is the place we are going to plot now, exactly this place. So we're going to plot here now. Our second point. So let's go to the table of values. Next one is 24. Again 0.91. Now that you plotted here, as I told you, just the next two small squares is the next 12th value, and as you have the values in difference of 12, just be counting the next two small squares to be easier for you. So we are now looking for 24 against 0.91. So if this is the place we plotted now, that means here is 24. If this is 12, this is 0. 12, this is 24. So we are looking for 0.91. 0.8, 82, 84, 86, 88, 9.1, so 9.2. So 0.91 will be in between here and here. So we're going to plot exactly at this place. The next is 36, 0.81. If this is 24, that means this is the line of 36. And we're looking for 0.81, 0.8, 0.82. That means 0.81 is in between 0.8 and 0.82. So we're going to plot here. The midway. Okay, the next is 48, 0.67. If we plotted here, the next place we're going to plot is after two small squares, and we're looking for 0.67. So this is 0.6 here, 0.62, 64, 66. So between here, this is 68. So between here and here is 0.67. So I'm going to plot at this point. Just in this order. That is the way you are going to plot the whole point, because it is time consuming. By the time you see this graph paper again, I must have plotted the whole values. Then we will now join. Now we have plotted the last positive number, which is 84 as against 0.1. Now that's what we plotted here. 84. Look at it here. This is 60. This should be 60 plus 12, 72. 72 plus 12, 84. And that was why you saw it here. And plotted it against its value. 84. 84 against 0.1. Look at the place you plotted it. This is 0, 0.02, 0.04, 0.06, 0.08, then 0.1. So that's why we now plotted it here. That is the end of all the values on top of the x-axis. So the other values from the table of value is 96 minus 0.01. 1. So 96, as I said before, just the next two lines, so the next two small squares. This is minus 0.02, 0.04, 0.06, 0.08, 0.1. So this is going to be minus 0.1. So we're going to plot here. Okay. The next is minus 0.31. That is 108 degrees. Tan 108 degrees has the value minus 0.31. Since we plotted here as the last, the next one will be plotted after the two small squares, and we're looking for minus 0.31. So this is minus 0.2, minus 0.22, 2426, 28, 0.3. That is 0.3 now, yes. Then 0.32. So in between 3 and 32 is where you plot, and that's exactly here. Remember, you plotted the last one here, and the second one have to plot it after two small squares. So we're going to plot exactly at this point. After 0.31, next is 120, 0 minus 0.5. You plotted here, as I showed you, the last place you plotted is here. That means the next is here, which will be 120. You can find out that this place is 120. So I plotted 120 against 120. The value of tan 120 is 0.5. So come to the graph. This is 120, and this is the line of 120. So if this is 0.4, so this is 0.42444648, 0.5. So this is exactly the place we're going to plot now. Okay, we have plotted 1, 2, 3. By the time you see this graph paper again, we must have plotted the entire points. Then we will now be faced with the joining process. That is the whole points plotted. Beginning from here, it went down gradually. It went down, got to the lowest here, and went up. Went up and got to the highest here. So that is the point. So the next thing we do now is to use our broomstick as usual to join these points and have the curve of a cosine theta. So when next you see this graph paper, I must have joined these points to form our cos theta curve. This is the curve of cosine theta plotted against theta, and that is the shape of the curve as it has been joined. And that has answered question number 2 that said we should plot cosine theta against theta. So this is the curve. cosine theta curve. Now we want to discuss how to draw the graph of tan theta. We have finished discussing the drawing of the graph of sine theta. We have drew the graph of cosine theta. Now we want to draw the graph of tan theta to complete our trigonometrical ratios. In drawing the graph of tan theta, I want to use this question that says that we should draw the graph of tan theta for values of theta in the following order: 0 degrees, 12 degrees, 24 degrees, 36 degrees, 48 degrees, blah blah blah, till 360 degrees, just like the previous ones we drew, against the corresponding values of tan theta, correct to 2 decimal places. When you find the values of theta, of tan theta, correct the values to 2 decimal places. Use the scale of 2 cm represents 60 degrees on the theta axis, on the horizontal axis, what's supposed to be the x-axis. And 1 cm represents 1 unit on the tan theta axis, that is on the vertical axis, what is supposed to be the y-axis. Just like the ones we did, we have to construct our table of value from where we will extract the values we will plot in our graph. So in this case, our table of value will take this shape. We're going to have theta and we're going to have the corresponding values of tan of the thetas. They say we should take the order of 0, 12, 24, 36, adding 12 in each progression. So I'm going to have 0, 12, 24, plus 6, plus 12, 36, plus 12, 48, plus 12, 60. We take these values in this form. So go to your 4-figure table or pick your calculator. Press tan. Tan of 0 is giving us 0. So tan 0 is 0. Then tan of 12 is giving us 0.2125. In 2 decimal places, 0.21. Tan 24, 0.4452. In 2 decimal places, 0.45. Tan of 36 is giving us 0.7265. In 2 decimal places, 0.73. Tan of 48 is giving us 1.110. In 2 decimal places, 1.11. Tan of 60, 1.732. In 2 decimal places, 1.73. So we continue like this until the 360th degree. So when you will see the whiteboard again, because of time, I must have completed the table of values till the 360th degree. From where we now start plotting our graph in our graph paper. Now this is the table of values completed. Theta 0, tan theta is 0. Theta 12, tan theta is 0.21. Theta is 24, tan theta is 0.45. Theta is 36 degrees, tan theta is 0.73. Theta is 48, tan theta is 1.11. Theta is 60, tan theta is 1.73. Theta is 72 degrees, tan theta is 3.08. Until the last, theta is 360 and tan theta is 0. So this is our table of values now. Table of values. So when the next item now is for us to copy this our table of value inside our graph paper, where we are going to plot the values of tan theta on the vertical axis, which is the y-axis, against the values of theta on the horizontal x-axis. When we do so, then we will now join the plotted points and get the shape of the graph of a tan theta. You can see the table of values clearer now as we have drew it closer to the camera. So these are the values. So the next thing is for us to go down to our graph paper and plot those values we have in the table of values. When we join the plotted points, we'll get the shape of the graph of tan theta. Now this is our graph paper. This is the table of values, the one we copied from our whiteboard. You can see the values of theta and the corresponding values of tan theta from 0 till 360 degrees. That's the table of values. You can see our scale. The scale says 2 cm represents 60 degrees on x-axis, that is the theta axis, whereas 1 cm represents 1 unit on the y-axis, that is tan theta axis. This is the graph of tan theta. And now this is the graph side of our graph paper, where we are going to plot those values we have on our table of values. So when you will see this graph paper again, I must have calibrated this graph portion of the graph paper based on this our scale of 2 cm representing 60 degrees on x or theta axis, and 1 cm representing 1 unit on y or tan theta axis. So this is the calibrated graph portion of our graph paper, and it's calibrated based on our scale that says 2 cm represents 60 degrees on x or theta axis. That was why you have on the theta axis 2 cm, the value from here, which is 0 to here, the distance from here to here is 2 cm, and each of the 2 cm is representing 60 degrees. That was why you have from here to here is 60. The next 2 cm is another 60, which is now 120. Another 2 cm, another 60, which is making 120, 180. Another 2 cm plus another 60, making it 240 until the 360. So that has satisfied the scale of 2 cm represents 60 degrees. Now on the y-axis, which is the tan theta axis, 1 cm represents 1 unit. That was why you know that from here to here is 2 cm. But the scale said 1 cm represents 1 unit. That means halfway is 1 cm. The complete 2 cm is not the 2 units. Halfway is 3, 4. Halfway is 5, 6, until it gets to the last. Likewise, on the negative side, halfway should be -1, -2. And each of the halfway is the 1 cm, half of the 2 cm. So that was why you see us calibrating the theta axis or the y-axis in this form. So the next thing we do now is we begin to plot the values we have from our table of values. The first value is 0, 0 degrees, and tan 0 is 0. So we start plotting from here. This is where theta is 0 and tan theta is 0. So we're going to plot the first point at this place. All right. Let's go back to the table of values. Next is 12. The tan of 12 degrees is 0.21. Just like when we were plotting the graph of cosine and sine theta. If from here to here is 60 degrees and you have 10 small squares, that means each of the small square will measure 60 divided by the 10 small squares, which will give you 6. So this is 6, another 6, 12, another 6, 18, 24, 32, and it progresses in that order. Sorry, 30 before then 36. Just be adding 6 corresponding to each small square. So now that we want to plot 12 degrees against 0.21, which is the value of tan 12. So 12 degrees is, this is 6 and this is 12, the second small square. So we are plotting against 0.21. If from here to here is 2, that means each of the small squares will be 2 divided by 10. And 2 divided by 10 is 0.2. So this is 0.2. And we're looking for 0.21. So 0.2, and this from here to here is 12 degrees. 0.2 will be a little bit, 0.21, which we have on our table of value as the tan of 12 degrees is going to be, if here is 0.2, just a little bit above this place. So our plotting will be at this point. can see. So the next is 24 degrees. Tan 24 is 0.45. The next, if this is 12, so that means this is 18 and this is 24. So all the values we have for theta, just be taking 2 small squares ahead, you'll be getting the corresponding values. So if this is 12, that means here it will be 24. And 24 has the value of tan 24, the value is 0.45. So on the line of this 24, look for 0.45. So this is 0.2, this is 0.4. That means 0.45 is going to be between 0.4 and 0.6. That is in between here. So we are going to have our nerve plotting at this point. All right. The next after 24 is 36. And the value of tan 36 is 0.73. So if here is 24, that means the next 2 small squared is 36. And the value of tan 36 is 0.73. So this is 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8. So that means 0.73 will be between 0.6 and 0.8. So it's going to be halfway. 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8. Now 0.73 will be in between this place. So we are going to plot this place. After 36, we have 48, and the value is 1.11. 48. 48 is the next 2 small squares, and the value is 1.11. So we have 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, 1.0. So 1.11 should be a little bit above 1.0. So next plotting is going to be this place. All right. After 48, the next is 60. And the value of times 60 is 1.73. So 60 is the next 2 small squares. You can see it corresponding to where we wrote 60. So if this is 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, 1.0, and we are looking for 1.73. So this will be 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 1.8. 1.73 is between 1.6 and 1.8. So we are going to plot at this point. Okay. The next after 60 is 72. And tan 72 gave us 3.08. So 72 is the next 2 small squares after the previous one we plotted. And the value of 72 is 3.08. So this is 2. 2.2, 2.4, 2.6, 2.8, 3.0. And we're looking for 3.08, not up to 3.1. So this is 3.2. So 3.08 is just a little bit above 3.0. So next plotting will be around this area. Okay, after 72, the next is 84, and the value of 84 is 9.51. 84 is going to be the next two small squares. That means on this line, and the value of 84 is 9.51. 9.51. So that means we're going to take this up gradually. If you miss it, you'll be making a mistake. So this is 8, 8.2, 8.4, 8.6, 8.8, 9.0, 9.2, 9.4, 9.6. So 9.51 will be between 9.4 and 9.6. So in between these two small squares is where I'm going to plot. Alright, then the next value we have after 84 is 96, and the value of 96 is minus 9.51. Minus 9.51. Minus will be gotten on values below the x or theta axis. Now, this is the place we plotted 84. So we're going to trace it down carefully. Trace it down carefully. Trace it down carefully until you get to x-axis. So that means the next is after two small squares, this place. So we're now going to trace it down to where we have minus 9.51. Trace it down carefully. Do not make any mistake. Don't miss the line. Trace it down. Trace it down. So this is 8. So this is going to be 8.2. That is minus 8.2. Minus 8.4. Minus 8.6. Minus 8.8. Minus 9.0. But we're looking for 9.51. So this is minus 9.2, 9.4, 9.6. So minus 9.54 will be between this and this. So our next plotting will be at this point. We're going to plot here. Alright. The next is 108 after 96. And the value of 108 degrees, its tan is minus 3.08. We plotted at this point, so take it back to x-axis. Take it back to x-axis. Okay, so that means the next two small squares is where we are going to plot the next value. 1, 2. That is our 108 now, and its tan is minus 3.08. So from here that we traced, so this is minus 2, and we're looking for minus 3.08. Minus 2.2, minus 2.4, minus 2.6, 2.8, 3.0. So 3.0 will be 3.08 will be between 3.0 and 3.02. So we're going to plot the next value here. So you can see how time taking the whole thing is. So by the time we finish or we see our graph paper again, I must have finished plotting the whole values we have on our table of value, just the way I have illustrated them. And from there, we will now proceed into joining the points the way we plotted them and get the shape of our tan theta graph. Now these are the points completely plotted. This is the first series. Started from 0 and went up and ended somewhere here. The second series started from here, came down, passed through 180, came down and ended here. The third started from somewhere here, went up and stopped exactly at 360 degrees. So these are the points plotted as I illustrated. Now the next obligation now is for us to join these points. We're going to join these points with this our soaked broomstick. We have soaked this broom, that is why it is very elastic. It cannot break. If you're bending it to connect your points, it cannot break. So that is the essence of, first of all, soaking this broomstick in water for some time, for some hours. When it is soaked with the water, you can use it to connect your points easily. It will not break and disappoint you. So when next you are going to see this graph paper now, I must have joined all these plotted points with this broomstick. So this is the tan theta graph plotted and joined. So what you can see now is the shape of a tan theta plotted against theta. That is the shape of its graph. And that has brought us to the end of this question, that we should plot the value of tan theta against theta. So that is the graph.